Shouts out Big Steve.
What's up? What's up? Big Brain MMA 162. We're going to break down UFC 310 and Oktagon 64 in the same episode. Try and make money from two cards at one. So tune in, pull up a chair or pull up a stool. I was going to say something else there, starting with F. Probably shouldn't, just in case. All right. But first of all, I'm going to go over a little recap of last week because I did an early tease for this show, for this pay-per-view card much earlier before the PFL happened. So I'll go over my PFL and I'll give it a little crack. So let me just share my screen and then we'll get into it, right? Did we make money? I think we did. I think we barely did, but let's just double check everything. What the hell? All right, here we go. Let me just fix this up. All right. So we'll go to the PFL first. So this one right here was a frustrating one because it was a very easy to profit card, right? I mentioned on my pod that I did with one of the boys, Pepe, sharp friend. I'm just going to play the juice. I'm feeling like the juice, the big favorites here are going to roll, and I hate when it's that obvious and that straight down the line and the reads are good and I just mess up. So I ended up passing on Van Steenis, Dantas under. I said I wouldn't play the chalk because Dantas can be so patient, but I could very much see Dantas round 1 KO. Happened right there. I was like, easy money gone. Passed on Perez, shit show fight. I did say Braga seemed like he had some value, even on short notice. Didn't want to play it. I laid like $500, $1.30 live after round 1. It looked like Kennedy was cooked. I didn't think I would get a better live line. There you go. After round 2, Braga was plus money, and I was sweating a little bit. And if I didn't already have $500 on Braga and it was 1-1 going to the third, I would have played more, and that would have been a great live bet. But I won $150 there, peanuts. But it's something. Trabesi, Babley, I dodged the bullet there. Pepe was on Babley. A lot of the boys were on. It was a great bet. Just a shame. It's just the way 2024 is going. Great dogs with value, losing. Barnaby Davis was a tough fight to get a read on. Passed on this. In the end, with all my sharp reads, I ended up parlaying Taleb and freaking Alakra and Gadzi for a full unit. Obviously, Alakra lost. Taleb and Gadzi, easy wins. After that, I woke up. It was like 6 a.m. and I was just not tilted, but kind of, oh no, like I don't feel like locking in any of these juicy favorites, even though that was the lean. So I passed on Katani under a plus money. Under 4.5 rounds was plus money on Bet365. He gets him out of there in one round. Obviously, I passed on the Taleb under. That was a good under. My first and only big money line bet was Oleg Popov. I put a whole 1.5 units on him, 750. I mean, we saw why. He took down Goltsov ASAP, and then a repeat of Tabura versus Spivak. A triangle from guard, right? I think that was Goltsov's second or third triangle in 44 fights. And there you go. You wouldn't think a protege, a Russian grinder that trains with Fedor Emelianenko would get triangled by a heavyweight in the guard. So, yeah, dare I say it, it almost seemed kind of fixed, but I'm not going to be that guy. So I don't really have a regret about that bet. I mean, there was something putting me off from locking it in earlier, but I just had to trust my gut, and yeah, crazy. All right, so now I've lost both my bets. 500 there, 750 there. I'm down like 1,000, and I'm like, how the hell? I'm trying to be like cautious, locking in locks with parlays, and then like one money line. Then Gadzi comes, and I was like, oh, do I just parlay Gadzi, Musayev, and Dakota? Passed on that. Me and Pepe both like Gadzi KO, $4.20. If I just put half a unit on that, would have got me out. Passed on anything Shamil, passed on Kasangyev. And then because I was sick of all these passes, I just played Dakota under 2.5 rounds at $2.50 for half a unit to win $3.70. So I won that. That dropped me to like $700. And Timur, again, $1.30, one of the best parlay pieces. Absolutely rinses Brendan. It would suck. It would absolutely suck to lock in Brendan Loughlane. Zero value whatsoever. Oh, look, it's Dogfather. Not reading a lot, little bro. Yeah, I think Dogfather locked in Brendan. Really, really high level bet. Who else do we have in here? Big Bird, always in here, trying to throw in the funniest comment at the start. Litz, shout out, mate. I think you're a first-time listener or maybe first-time commenter. Thanks for listening. Glimba, sup, gentlemen. Thank you, sir. So in the end, lost 750 when I was like $1,200 down. That's that was like a little win for me. But yeah, I mean, so easy to profit, man. Should have just reparlayed Gadzi again, Messiah, Dakota, just all the chalk was good. So the month ended, and of course you can always trust PFL to ruin a good month. So pretty much won every single time, other than Prates Magni, which annoyed me, and little pokes on LFA. Actually, twice I lost on LFA. Not my favorite card. Not my favorite promotion, it seems like. And yeah, 700 loss on PFL, which brought me to 7 units, what is that again? 6 units is what, 3,500, and brought me to 22,700 for the year. It's fine. And then we obviously had, I bet this guy, Alim Barisha in FNC, Fight Club Rush, FCR, pardon me. And that was Bakayako. Shout out Bakayako, one of the dudes from Croatia. Really sharp guy with the European regionals. I still have his post pinned on my Twitter about that kickboxing bet, where the underdog was like $3.30 and he won. I think we all jumped on it. So yeah, I looked into it, and it was $1.44 against some short notice Brazilian. And the guy was just fat and out of shape. And this Alim Barisha is actually a Cage Warriors amateur champion, right? So he's not amazing. He will lose in the future, but yeah, they gave him a layup. He won in round 1. So then obviously, for me in Australia, that made it the 1st of December. So it started me off on plus 850 profit. And I tipped that out. I put 4 units on it. I think I tipped out 3. I just put more. But yeah, 850. So over 23,000. So yeah, that's good. Can't complain. Hoping to just keep going. Need at least 10 units or minimum 6 for this month. So how are we going to do that? We'll have a look. Let's go in. Let's go into this card. I'm excited about this card. I'm doing Oktagon right after it, so let's try to keep it quick, right? What do we got? Nem, thanks for listening, mate. Dogfather, crazy. I made money on PFL and you didn't. Yeah, that's right. You tell me, boss. Money line, yo. My dad, big piece is gay. Yeah, can't disagree. Barisha, Albanian, Connor. Yeah, I don't know about that, mate. Bakayako is a GOAT regional wigger. Yeah. Funny story. When I went to Croatia last year with my misso, I was actually going to meet with Bakayako, but he was on the other side of the country, so I didn't have time. Alrighty, let's get into this card, right? Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Lukasz Brzeski. Interesting fight, starting off with a shit show. Big favorite, Kennedy. He's never to be trusted. Brzeski, I think he's won 1 fight in the UFC. He's also not the greatest. What I will say, though, he's definitely a level up from Huggy Bear. All right, the last guy that Kennedy fought, who literally injured himself throwing a spinning wheel kick. So Brzeski extremely chinny. From a betting perspective, I wouldn't really want to play the dog, even though I think there's a bit of value. I think Kennedy's chin issues are going to be less obvious at heavyweight. He weighed in last time in his heavyweight debut 240 pounds. So this guy cut 35 pounds, maybe more, who knows? Maybe less, maybe he was out of shape. But yeah, that's a lot to cut. And maybe that's had something to do with his chin issues. But I think Brzeski can keep it competitive, has a lot of volume. He's not bad on the feet. It's just the durability issues. From a betting perspective, I was looking at the under here. It's plus money. The under 1.5, I think it's lined accurately. And it was a little bit scary. You look at the Chris Barnett fight. I think the Chris Barnett fight goes into round 2 easily if Chris doesn't injure himself. And even then, there was about 30 seconds to go. So that's the issue. And Lucas will move and run. But, if you do hit him, he just always does the stanky leg. And also, I will add, you look at the Kennedy fights and, you wiki cap him. And, a lot of these fights going under. Obviously, Devin Clark, under by 2 seconds, which was a guillotine. It would require Brzeski to shoot, which he doesn't really. Knocked out Ian Kutalaba, which I will say is quite durable. Some people might disagree, but for how many shots he eats, I would say he's durable. Carl Robertson took him a while, but it was grappling him. Duwon Choi, Daniel Marquez took him a while. Knocked out Carlos Olberg just over 1.5, which I don't really know how durable Olberg is, but his gym seems to be decent. We've seen him take some shots from Ozdemir. Yeah, you would think this goes under. It probably has some value, but I didn't really get a feeling where it's like, yes, lock it in. This is the bet. So Might be something I go in deeper on. But yeah, under maybe Kennedy KO is $1.80. Brzeski is definitely going to slow down. And the other thing that I'm considering is Kennedy round 2. Makes it out of round 1. He's always a slow starter. Brzeski slows down. I think in round 2 was when he was dropped by Carl Williams of all people. So yeah, Kennedy round 2 potentially for a less risky poke. And let's move on. Clay Guida versus Chase Hooper. Right, another huge favorite. Chase Hooper. It might have something to do with the fact that these guys have grappled in Fury grappling, and Chase Hooper calf sliced him, which was impressive. But I don't think Clay Guida is that bad of a grappler, right? The guy's been in UFC since 2007. I went deep on this one, and I wanted to see how Clay is on the bottom, right? Because you see Chase Hooper, he doesn't have the best wrestling, doesn't have the best athleticism, he doesn't have the best control. He's always getting reversed. Nick Fiore had this guy in a crucifix at the start. Jordan Levitt kept reversing him until he was eventually caught in a scramble. Clay Guida's good, man. You look at him, he's wrestling everyone, he's scrambling. He's been guillotined a bunch by Jim Miller, Charles Oliveira, Tavares. But this guy's fought so many good dudes, Ortega. Joaquin Silva couldn't guillotine him, who has a really good guillotine. He submitted Leandro Silva, which, whatever, club and sub or gassing. But I went all the way back. I watched every time he was taken down. I watched his Kawajiri fight. He ends up in bottom mount, but he reverses him with a Kimura from bottom mount. Every time he's taken down by Chad Mendes, he pops straight up. So this guy's always getting up. He gives his back up. He doesn't want to be on the ground. And I just don't see Chase Hooper just laying on him, throwing ground and pound, going from one position to the other, because Clay will aggressively look to stand up. He's a wrestler. He always goes for wrestling get-ups. He probably will give up his back doing that. But that's why I think, the submission, obviously, it's too obvious. It makes a lot of sense. If it's going to be something, I don't think he'll be a guillotine. I think he'll probably be like a leg entanglement or a rear naked choke where Guida gives it up. The only time where he's actually been top timed and kind of broken and rear naked choked was against Dennis Bermudez. And Dennis Bermudez was in his prime then. I think he was on his way to being ranked. 2 fights ago, he beat a young Max Holloway. So Dennis Bermudez was a beast back then. And he just kept taking him down, but he was also like beating him up in the clinch. Just like Dennis Bermudez fights a bit like Chad Mendes. Hooper just does not have that physicality, that power that like a stocky wrestler like Bermudez and Chad Mendes had. So he broke him with wrestling and top pressure, and eventually got a rear naked choke. But yeah, I think this is going to be more competitive until that moment. I think Guida could potentially crack Hooper. I think he can take him down at will whenever he wants. Will he do it? Who knows? Guida's unpredictable, but I did bet him against Puelles, and the dude instantly shoots for a takedown and then just puts himself in the billion subs, and then he shows that he actually can't defend an knee bar. Like, he did really well with triangle defense and an armbar defense, and I was like, wow, this is going great. He will break Puelles. He will gas him out from all these submission attempts, and then as soon as the knee bar is even close, he just rolls into it, and it was just, no. So there might be some issues with the leg entanglements. Chase has gotten heel hooks before. He keeps going for him. So, yeah, I think this is going to be competitive. I think Guida, if he fights smart, it could look very good here. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I can see him getting hurt with some random stuff, even though Chase doesn't hit that hard. I can see him shooting when he gets hurt. And then you're just going to get a scrambly fight. Again, it seems square. It seems to make too much sense not to play. But what's Chase? Apparently, Chase Hooper inside the distance is pretty much the same to submission. Okay, it's taken a bit of a hit. Yeah, it's the under 2.5, $1.45, maybe, but yeah, that's where I'm at. Maybe Hooper live bet. We'll see. All right. A lot of comments. Nick Alexander, are you Croatian, Aussie, Big Steve? No, I'm Serbian, Aussie. But I have a little bit of Croatian in me. My granny was Crow, but she married my grandpa. But yeah, I just go to Croatia because I was born there, and then I migrated to Serbia. Nice to finally be around for a stream for once. I'm usually asleep. Well, thanks for letting me know that. A lot of squash matches in the last UFC cards. Yeah, shame that they're not actually parlayable or good squash matches. Wouldn't be surprised if Hooper decides to do some kind of retirement decision bullshit just to bust all the subs. I don't know what that means. Is Guida retiring? I have no idea, but the guy still has it. He's been grappling a lot. He's been grappling with Caceres. He grappled with someone else. He beat Billy Q. So if it was really that bad of a grappler that people are insinuating, he would be getting submitted all the time. He's not bad. He's not bad, but ultimately over 15 minutes, I think he gets subbed. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. All right, let's move on. Spend too much time on these very, very unbettable fights. All right, Michael Chiesa versus Max Griffin. Pick 'em fight now. A lot of money on Chiesa. Both these guys are in the twilight, 39 versus 37. Actually surprised that Max Griffin is older, considering Chiesa just gives me more washed vibes. But I think Max Griffin is good. I don't think Chiesa's ranked anymore after, the Luque, Brady, and Holland finishes. But I honestly think, they're on a similar level. Max Payne, Griffin, not ranked. I don't think he was ever ranked. Maybe back in the day, but he's always been fighting, Zaleski in his prime back in the day. If you give him a washed fighter like Carlos Condit, he'll run through him. Had a very competitive fight with Neil Magny almost 3 years ago, who was a lot more in his prime. Tim Means, that was a split decision, but it wasn't really. He just had more of a shout for a 30-27. And, Michael Morales, competitive fight. You see how Morales handled Magny and some of the others. And, split decision with Jeremiah Bells. So I think at 39 years of age, man, this guy is still going strong. He beat Morono as well. So I lean Max Griffin. From tape, his takedown defense seems good. He's a good offensive wrestler himself. But from how the fight will play out, Chiesa just constantly runs away. He's scared of getting punched. He basically avoids the fight and then dives in and looks to hit a takedown. And he's a weasel, and he looks to control. Max Griffin, as I said, he seems to be good at avoiding that, but he does have one backpack in him. He does have one time in 15 minutes where he gives up his back. He did it to Oliveira. He did it to Magny in round 3. He got absolutely rinsed in round 3. He definitely slows down, and his round 3 is the worst. So if Michael Chiesa can kind of preserve his energy and, have a good round 3 like he did against Sean Brady, for example, that could be a little sweaty. If it's 1-1 going to the third, Max Griffin always has sweaty fights, splits all the time. Even when he beats people like Tim Means convincingly, it's a split decision. So, yeah, at the moment, not rushing to play anything here. It seems kind of competitive, seems kind of whatever, 2 old welterweights. Long-time listeners know that I absolutely love taping and playing 2 washed welterweights. So let's move on. Alrighty. What do we got for comments? Anything smart? Would bet Griffin, but then he fights always so close. Correct. Why are you stealing my lines, mate? I like Griffin here, but man, seems suspicious being Chiesa's birthday. Probably Chiesa, but I didn't know it was his birthday. I don't think the UFC gives a shit about fighters' birthdays, to be honest. But all right, let's move on. Cody Durden, custom made. Apparently got a new nickname. Interesting. I think if you're custom making a fighter, you probably make him a bit better than Cody Durden, that's for sure. Versus Joshua Van. Yeah, interesting fight. 33 versus 23 ranking potential. I think both these guys are ranked. I haven't checked in a while. I know Durden was. He definitely was, right? He fought Tagia, Bruno. He wasn't against Matt Schnell, but I have a feeling that was because it was a bantamweight. It was a short notice. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going to overcomplicate this one. Joshua Van at minus odds. I don't think it's ever worth it. Go back to every single UFC fight and show me around that he hasn't lost. I mean, I think maybe in a Charles Johnson fight, he might have won that on a couple of judges' scorecards, but that's just Charles Johnson also being another guy that's a really, really slow starter. And I played Charles Johnson then. It worked out in the end. But yeah, every other round, then Edgar Chairez beats up his leg, drops him. Kevin Borjas drops him. Felipe Bunes takes him down a bunch of times, took him a lot to get going. Zalgas, 1 round. So, yeah, Cody Durden comes out really, really strong, right? He's dropping people. He looked on fire against Bruno Silva. It was the best he's ever looked with his hands. And then he followed that up with Matt Schnell. He was a bit hittable against Matt Schnell, but, he came back and submitted him in round 2. That was one of my best bets of the year. I was down 2,000 something on 2 money lines. I think it was Zongru and someone else. And, it was Bulgarian round 1, and he couldn't finish that bum a lot, or whatever his name was. And, then I just played Matt Schnell round 2 sub at like $32 or $22, and he got it. All right, I predicted that ninja choke, and yeah, I think he's just going to come out. It's going to be competitive early. Maybe he can get cracked by Joshua Van, but I don't know if it's going to be in round one. So I'm not going to play anything. I think as the fight goes longer, I think Joshua Van can beat him. But I don't like how hittable he is. I don't like his durability. Like, he got hurt badly against Chares twice, and he got knocked out by Johnson before that, 2 months before that. And 2 months later, again, he's fighting Cody Durden, who can also crack. So I don't like this kid's management. Sure, he's tough. He's built different. But yeah, his leg was also compromised. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this fight. It seems accurate, maybe. But yeah, I'm going to just wait and live bet Van and go from there. Might do some more tape and look at his takedown defense and his get-ups. I know he can be taken down. But it also depends on Cody Durden. Will he want to wrestle? Will he want to swing? If he fights like he did against Charles Johnson, for example, he could look good value in that fight if he just focuses on grappling Van and not really engaging in the striking, but we'll see. The under also is not a bad price at all. There's a couple totals here that I need to revisit. On Bet365, it's pick'em under 2.5 rounds. That is not bad. Tell me that's not a good line, right? I think Van is live to knock him out, and I think Durden is live to maybe knock him out. I don't know about sub. Van showed good submission defense against Chares, but let's move on. Okay. What do we got for the comments? How is this line not pick'em? 6 rounds. Pretty at least. Durden KO is a huge number. Yeah. I mean, pick'em. Should it be pick'em? I guess if you think Van loses round 1 and he wins round 3 and then round 2 is split, it could be pick'em. But I personally think Van can hurt Durden whenever he wants. Seeing how hittable he was against Matt Schnell. Seeing him got knocked out by pretty much one uppercut against Bruno. Yeah, I mean it's a volatile fight. It's a very volatile fight, but yeah, we don't always. I've done that before a lot of the times, and I still might, bet the underdog and then hope to get out live. But we haven't been getting those opportunities a lot lately because even live betting has been a bit shithouse. Everything is changing. The landscape of MMA is changing a bit. All right, Chris Weidman, Eryk Anders. Yeah, I taped this originally. I wasn't interested with all the money on Weidman. It was in New York. The gut feeling said fade the public and play Eryk Anders. I had a sneaky suspicion that Eryk Anders KO would be a decent play. It was in New York. All this dodgy stuff was probably going to happen in Chris Weidman's hometown. And now it's not in New York. And yeah, I think Chris Weidman might be more into this game than Eryk Anders. I know Eryk Anders is going to retire soon. You see against his performance against freaking Jamie Pickett and Barry Alt, he's getting dropped in both of those. Not really the hardest hitters. I think Chris has underrated power. Yeah, it's a shit show fight. It's pick'em. Maybe I'll do a little bit more tape. But yeah, Anders KO at $5. If I had to poke anything, that could be it. But yeah, just not a fight I'm running to put my hard-earned money on. All right. Randy Brown versus Bryan battle. This one's interesting. A lot of noise about Randy Brown being a good dog. It makes sense. Bryan battle is flying high. Just knocked out Kevin Giussette, who incredibly durable. I think his only KO loss was to Jack Della Maddalena early in his career when he was very green, and that was a doctor stoppage as well. It took a lot of punishment there. So very impressive by Bryan battle. He's all systems go. The guy he's been improving for a long time. He was always good. He's a natural finisher. He has a great rear naked choke. We obviously see him submit Petrosky up at middleweight on Ultimate Fighter. Petrosky, after that, you think he'll get submitted by all these other guys, GM3 and Friend and who knows who else. And he showed great submission defense. Terman, no one's really gotten close. So it just shows you the level of Bryan battle's submission technique. It's ran through AJ Fletcher, whatever. Would he finish Angelusa? Some people think he would. But you look at that Gabriel Bonfim fight, Angelusa just has insane durability. And yeah, Kevin Giussette just kind of broke him. But he has been dropped. He's been dropped a lot by Renat, by AJ Fletcher, by Urbina. So Randy Brown can definitely crack him here. I think Randy Brown, with his length and his power and his technical striking, he's dropped a lot of dudes. he can definitely drop Bryan Battle. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. Can he finish him? I'm not sure. Bryan Battle definitely has the durability advantage. He might even have the power advantage. Randy Brown just, he drops people, but he just kind of dances around, goes to the decision a lot. Wellington Turman fight was not even close to a finish. Francesco Trinaldo, he dropped him with a big overhand right, but it was kind of like just a flash knockdown. Trinaldo just got up straight away. So I feel like if it drops Bryan, that might be the case. And then Bryan just gets up and continues on. But who knows? Rather than playing anything on this fight, I don't mind the under. Again, it's a pick'em, which again is surprising. Like, Bryan Battle has finished more durable dudes than Randy Brown. Randy Brown has chin issues, bad chin issues. We've seen him do this tank leg constantly. Whenever he's taken a step up, Vicente Luque finished him. We'll talk about it later. Jack Della finished him. Right, he was dropped multiple times by Chaos Williams. A bit lucky to survive there. So can Bryan Battle do it? He is a great finisher, so I'm leaning that under there. I do feel it correlates with Bryan Battle, but I definitely think Randy Brown could also finish Battle. Right, I've been getting greedy a lot recently and just playing finish props of one fighter when I don't give the other guy much chance, and then the other guy's been getting finishes. Fang, freaking the UFC China card, when Fang got freaking head kicked by that girl that looks like she can't bust the grape. So I think the smart thing is not to be greedy and just play the under 2.5 instead. Although Bryan Battle inside the distance is a much better line. All right, let's move on. Well, we're going to stop everything because one of my favorite boys, Lou Betcher, is in here. Steve, we need the big soccer bets for the weekend at the end. If I've learned anything from Steve, is that we should never bet on Serbia. Correct. In soccer especially, but don't know if I want to bet soccer, mate. I haven't bet soccer in like 2-3 months. I was up like 4 units. And the one weekend I started to bet it again, I lost like 3 bets in a row, all tilting, and I'm down like $200 now. So, which is 4 units, but it's just for fun. I'm not touching it. What else we got? Tristan, what do you mean? By the way, Tristan, you're in every single video. I respect the hustle. What do you mean by the landscape of MMA is changing? The betting. It's so much harder to bet. I see people talking about Yas Island during COVID. And man, that was one of my best years. And it was so easy to bet. And the lines were insane. Kamzat was barely a minus 200 favorite over Bums. Kamzat KO over GM3 was $3. Rakhmonov, I bet Rakhmonov against Oliveira in his debut. It was almost pick him. Like, it's just not the same. Betting wise, it's not the same. You look at the props, you look at the totals, look at the money lines. It's becoming much harder to bet. Luckily, it's become harder now when I'm 6 years into it, and I can use my discipline and skills to just be very selective. But yeah, I mean, it's not smooth sailing like before. That's all I'll say. Cody H, you going to have anything on any fight, or is everything a fade? Oh, well, keep listening, Cody. You'll find out. 6 Hound, everything is a fade, Cody. Only bet locks. Correct. Right? Correct. I'm here for the money. I pay my bills with money, so I can't. Unfortunately, my bankroll is not where it used to be, where I can just poke things for fun and not care if it loses. Yeah, I'm like Moicano, lads. Can't afford to lose. UFC was even last year way easier than now. Well, last year I made 54,000, but that was 39 units. So I still dropped from the year before. So gradually I've been making less and less units every year, but that could be something with having really high units and being a little bit more scared. Who knows? Tristan, LMAO. I didn't realize I was everywhere. I am baked AF. That's right, mate. You live your best life. Keep getting baked and keep listening to podcasts. All right, Movsar, Evloev, Aljamain stealing. I taped this a long, long time ago because some of the lads, I see people locking up Sterling money line all over the place, and it makes sense. He's one of the GOATs at bantamweight, as much as people don't like him. Suffocating ground game. He's moved up to featherweight, and it doesn't look small at all. His body kind of reminds me of John Jones. Really long, athletic, dare I say, even African-American. And yeah, really good for grappling. When he gets on you, he can lock in the body triangle. And those long dudes, just like John Jones, he doesn't look small at heavyweight at all. When they grab you, they can disperse their limbs and grab the Dagestani handcuffs. They can intertwine your legs. So he's going to be a beast at featherweight, even if he doesn't beat Evloev here. And he's obviously athletic, and he's got that weird striking where, again, another weasel, another guy that avoids the fight, skirts the octagon. But if you pressure him, he will just kick and move, rack up points. and then look to backpack you, take you down, and steal minutes. When he gets on top, brutal control and brutal ground and pound. I'll say much better control than Evloev. And speaking of Evloev, a lot more hit takedowns, constant mat returns, great cardio, great boxing. I don't see people talking about his boxing as much. He has a great jab, great 1-2. He wins a lot of these fights where he doesn't get massive control just with his boxing and his underrated stand-up. He's lit up Danny Ige. Diego Lopez, he actually lit up on the feet as well. And Diego Lopez striking is not bad at all now, in hindsight, watching him climb the ranks. So, yeah, I don't know. I do get it. I think Aljamain Sterling could definitely seem competitive. I watched all the grappling fights with Evloev. He's not a hard man to take down. Nick Lance, Grundy. Grundy is a Commonwealth wrestler, a medaling wrestler for England. I know my boy Pepe, I just listened to the show, said he's not a great wrestler or anything, bless his soul. But yeah, Grundy definitely is a good wrestler. Anyway, just took him down like 20 times. And Evloev just kept getting up every single time. He's an insane scrambler. So just like a bit like Clay Guida and Chase Hooper, I haven't really seen anyone take down Evloev and backpack him and mount him or do anything like that. Everything I've seen is that this guy can scramble for days and no one can get any minutes on him. So that's my issue here. Can he do it? Aljamain? Yeah, probably. We've seen him do it to Peter Yan, and since then nobody's able to hold Peter Yan down. We've seen him take down Henry Cejudo, the Olympian, but he couldn't really hold him down either. So maybe Evloev can just do that, keep getting up, have the better striking. I'm just leaning towards a minus EV decision for Evloev, so it's kind of hard. I wish I could find my way to bet it, but yeah, I just see Evloev. I hate to fade these underdogs that have a lot going for them. Like Evloev has the striking, has the cardio, has the heart durability. So it's like, where does Aljo beat him? Like he needs to fight the perfect fight, and he needs to be the guy to actually backpack Evloev and shut him down. He needs to be the first one to do it. So I don't know if I can do it, but I completely understand people playing Aljo. I think he's underrated. I think Aljo can crack him. I think he can take him down. So it's just what your risk tolerance is. But yeah, I'm not even going to say dog or pass because maybe Evloev by decision. It's been printing money. Maybe that's just the play. I have to dig a little bit deeper. I just kind of wanted to see if I like the dog and then move on. Yeah, decision is $1.83. Almost pick him on Bet365. It's better. It's a better line than we've seen recently. It was a lot more chalky against Ige and some of these others. Let's move on. All right, Luque versus Themba Gorimbo. Man, one of my favorite fighters versus a guy that I'm not really a fan of at all. Gorimbo, this is a big step up for Gorimbo. He's been beating dudes like, a washed Nico Price, Ramiz Brahimaj. I mean, that kind of looks decent now after Brahimaj has knocked out Mickey Gall, but that's, Mickey Gall is a nobody. Pete Rodriguez, Takashi Sato, literally the bottom of the barrel / not UFC level guys. And even one of them, AJ Fletcher, has submitted him. So I get why people are playing Luque. The line has moved 30 cents. He's a plus 130 now. And I get why people are playing the under. I do think it correlates with Luque. I do think Gorimbo probably has a little bit of finishing upside. Definitely not any submissions. I think his submissions are extremely overrated, considering how much grappling success he gets and how many times he gets the back of opponents. But I think his path is for a finish is maybe land a big overhand right, like he did on Sato, like he did on Pete Rodriguez, and just kind of try break Luque. But this is even a big step down for Luque, for example, from someone like Buckley. And Buckley's, after knocking out Wonderboy, he's trajecting, up towards the title. And he's fighting Kobe next week. So I did actually lock in, 3 or 4 units on Buckley, just so you know. So there's a bet for you for UFC Tampa. But yeah, it makes sense to lock in Luque. I looked at all Luque's grappling fights, opponents, and I will say that he's always been a bad minute winner, horrible minute winner, even in his prime, against Nico Price, Bilal, all these guys, he's just not really winning minutes, and he gets the knockout. Barbarena, Mike Perry, really, really bad fighters. He goes to war with them, and he's obviously heavily reliant on the finish. So I'm kind of tossing up here. But as I was saying before, I cut myself off. No one's really backpacked Luque. He's been taken down by Bilal, by Chiesa, and he always reverses. You can't really take his back. Even Bilal, you've seen Bilal actually backpack Leon Edwards. He couldn't do it to Luque. He always stands up. So Themba does have pretty shit control. So I reckon if he does take Luque down, Luque will get up. We've seen Luque actually out wrestle RDA. And I think he's underrated grappling. So I think all the value is definitely on Luque. I haven't locked it in. I just have something stopping me. I don't know. I guess because even before he was washed, he was a bad middle winner. And Themba will constantly keep going for takedowns here. But yeah. I will also hate if I played Luque inside the distance or the under, and then Luque wins a decision. But has he ever won a decision in his entire life? Someone fill me in. He beat Mike Perry via split. I mean, that tells you all you need to know. Like, he barely wins. But yeah, under Luque, Luque inside the distance, and Luque sub. Luque sub. I always maintained before Gorimbo made his debut that he's chinny, and that's why I played the AJ Fletcher chalk. You cracked him there first before diving into a guillotine. So I think this could be a good bounce back spot. We'll see. I might have to lock it in. I'm just. It seems like I'm overthinking it. All right, what do we got here? Nick thinks terrible stylistic matchup for Aljo. Interesting. UFC matchmakers screwing him big time. I wouldn't say they're screwing him big time, mate. I think they're doing Aljo a favor, because if he beats an 18-0 Movsar Evloev, who should be next for the UFC title, Aljamain Sterling puts himself straight into contention. So they're actually doing him a favor. Nick Pearson, but decision, Evloev decision. No way Aljo is finishing him. No, I agree with that. 6 sound. A year ago, Luque will be minus 750. I agree. I 100% agree. It's basically Luque versus a bum from the regionals. Nem, if you bet Luque, you're basically hoping that he overcame his trauma or whatever is going on with him. Well, I mean, he fought twice since his brain bleed, and he beat RDA. He won 5 rounds, and he was doing all right against Buckley until he wasn't. So, Paul Blatt, off topic, but will you go LFA? No, my friend, there's not much time, and I'm doing Oktagon right after it, and I got to do some more tape. Could look major levels if Luque shows up. It could. Very well could. All right, Anthony Smith, Dominick Reyes. I'm not going to spend much time on this fight. Dominick Reyes finally got that win that he wanted. You know, I liked him in his last one. I liked the under. He showed that he still has it. He was still as explosive and as powerful as ever. So he's not really old or anything per se. He's just, you know, a few losses back to back. I mean, there's no shame in losing to Jiri, Jan, John Jones. There's a bit of shame in losing to Ryan Spann, but Ryan Spann can knock out anyone. He's an extremely volatile fighter. Dustin Jacoby, it's good. I mean, I'm not really an Anthony Smith guy. No matter how big the underdog price is, you know, the guy lost the decision to Belize. I think his win over Petrino was extremely meme/fluky. I think that was literally his path. He was going to get rinsed by Petrino. But yeah, so I like Reyes. I guess not really feeling like parlaying him, you know, with his history of dropping the ball. So let's move on. Nate Landwehr versus Duhoi Choi. This is an interesting one. I taped this one in depth and hoping that I could get a good read, but it just seems like a volatile fight. Nate Landwehr, always a great underdog to play, and now he's a favorite against a Korean man that has much better boxing than him and is live to spark him early, right? Nate Landwehr always gets dropped, without a doubt, by Jamal Emmers, but then Ige, but David Onama. Can't remember if Ludovic Klein dropped him. I actually played him there. I remember the whole world was saying Ludovic Klein was going to head kick KO him. And then upon taping it, I was like, wait a minute, this guy actually, his chin is not that bad. And yeah, so he's one of those guys, you know, his chin, he gets dropped a lot, but insane recovery, insane cardio. And he actually shells up, but it's just, you know, getting cracked by really hard hitters like Dan Ige and Onama. And even Nelson Lingo busted him up, but he comes on. So the issue with Choi is, you know, he's also hittable himself. You know, 3 back-to-back KO losses to Cub Swanson. Jeremy Stevens and Charles Johnson. He didn't get knocked out to Cub Swanson, but man, quite impressive that he didn't, because he got dropped multiple times there. Carl Nelson actually hurt him really bad in round 1. So it's just a volatile fight. I do think Choi hits a lot harder and he's a lot cleaner. He just knocked out Bill Algeo. He broke his orbital bone. And, Bill Algeo, traditionally extremely, extremely durable. Could that happen to Nate? I don't think Nate has any quit in him. He's going to have to put him out. But it's just one of those, like, what the hell is going to happen in this fight? I don't think Nate has much power. It's always attritional. He's always on the outside throwing kicks. He has a really good uppercut. He landed that uppercut on Jamal Emmers and knocked him out in round 1. I really tried getting on that live bet. I could see halfway through the round the tides were turning. As soon as Jamal heard him and couldn't get him out of there, he started to gas out. I don't think Choi will do that. But yeah, this is so volatile, man. Wouldn't be playing Nate at minus money. Choi at slight plus money, maybe. But the gut says Nate is a better minute winner. The longer this goes, he's probably more trustworthy. But you look at Choi's last 2 fights. Carl Nelson, who was on a streak before getting run through by Garcia, and Bill Algeo, 2 veterans of the game that are decent fighters. And, he should have won 2-1 against Carl Nelson. He actually won 30-27 on one judge's scorecards, but thank you to Chris Tione for taking a point away for 1 headbutt with no warning or anything. Absolute idiot of a ref. So he's a good fighter, Doo Ho Choi. And he had enough cardio in round 2 after going for, 7 guillotines against Bill Algeo to still knock him out. His arms weren't gassed out. So, yeah, I don't know. This is just like a pass. The unders seem very, very popular here. It's chalky. It's like minus 200. It makes sense. But I don't know, man. I think Nate is durable. I think Choi is durable. Watching all these fights, even though he gets cracked a lot, like the fights where he actually got finished, he took a lot of damage. And he didn't even get dropped against Carl Nelson. He was just wobbling, but he survived. So, I don't know, man. This whole card, like everything that I really liked upon tape, kind of talked myself out of it. So, not getting the best read, so I'm not going to try and force anything. But, yeah, I think there's a lot of ways you could play this. You can play Choi KO. You can live bait Nate afterwards. I think Nate is live for a submission, so I wouldn't really play fight ends in KO per se. Yeah, maybe the under 2.5 or plus money, you lock it in and just hope for the best. Because is it plus money? I'm talking shit. That's my bad. I think I mixed it up with another fight. What is it? Yeah, $1.60. Well, it's better than minus 200 at least. Alrighty, what else we got? Bryce Mitchell, Kron Gracie. This is a shit show of a fight. Honestly, it's a dog or pass. Yeah, you don't know what Kron Gracie is going to do. Weird fighter. Just comes in there and looks to dirty box you and dirty clinch. Doesn't really have a semblance of striking. He kind of landed some good strikes against Cub upon rewatch recently. And I was like, yeah, wow, this guy, not the worst striking, honestly. Cub was getting hit on. But then obviously got lit up to the body and to the head. It was just a punching bag. It looked a lot worse against Charles Jourdain. But yeah, shit show of a fight. Like, Bryce should win. He's a ranked UFC fighter. But there's levels to the game in terms of grappling, right? Bryce has been submitted by Ilia Topuria. Obviously, Topuria a few levels above Kron. But yeah, not interested. Bryce decision is minus 200. It makes sense. Don't see him finishing Kron, who's incredibly durable and hard to submit. Yeah. If you're feeling frisky, maybe poke some Kron submission. I think that's his path. Alrighty. Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov. A rematch. First time I hammered Gane. And again, a time it was much easier to bet MMA. It was a decent line on him. He just steamrolled Volkov. A levels fight in terms of striking, footwork, athleticism. Now it's 3 rounds. I don't really feel passionate about it, even though I do think Gane should beat him again. The guy, put this into perspective, has started professional MMA in 2018. It's 2024, and the dude is one of the better guys in the UFC, one of the better heavyweights in the world. So he's an insane athlete. I think he will just keep leveling him up every time we see him. Showed great takedown defense against Sergey Spivak. Yeah, but Volkov has power. He's a great striker still. He's still improving. Like, we've seen him just knock off Sergey Pavlovich, one of the other guys that was meant to be a top 3 heavyweight. So anything can happen, but yeah, I'm not rushing. Hoping that maybe Gane loses round 1 or it's a bit more competitive. I can jump in live on an extremely chalky line, but slightly better than his money line. But yeah, I don't know. Gane, round 3 or decision. I wouldn't really be playing Gane decision because Volkov slows down in the third and Gane picks it up. He's knocked out some durable dudes late in the third, like Tai Vasa. Went hard on Sergey Spivak. I don't think Spivak's very durable, but he seems to be putting more into his punches. So, yeah, maybe the under's good, but not really interested. Alrighty. Let's do the comments and we'll do the co-main in the main. Kron KO, that's very generous. Nate more durable? I don't know about that, my friend. I don't think Nate is more durable at all. But, I mean, it's all subjective, really. Kron KO would be hilarious, especially since everybody's assuming sub. Gane finished 4.2. Maybe. I saw a recent interview with Kron saying he wants to throw hands. I mean, I saw an interview of him just saying he's going to mix it up. That he listened to the jiu-jitsu community and that was stupid and he's been working on other aspects of his game. But just because of that, I feel like his value. Like, Bryce Mitchell is not some amazing phenom. He's a ranked fighter. I'll give him that. But, Fili, Barbosa, the Dan Ige fight was extremely competitive. Right? It looked like he was going to lose. Kind of surprised he won that unanimously. But, yeah. Chrono pass. Alrighty. This fight. So, great fight. I'm glad we got this, considering we lost a title fight with Bilal Muhammad. So, we've got Shavkat versus Ian Machado, Gary. And yeah, a lot of people like Gary. There's a lot of bettors locking him in. I get it. Gary is usually a massive chalky favorite. Obviously, it makes sense. He's fighting people like Weeks and Daniel Rodriguez and Son Kanan and whatever. He was a big favorite against Jeff Neal too, and I tried to fade him, and it was a split decision. And I felt like if Jeff Neal just threw a little bit more hands, he could have easily got a knockout, if not a unanimous decision. Squeezed past Michael Page as well, which, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to skip straight to it and say I don't really feel it. I get it. He's the more technical fighter. He's going to stick and move. He's got that weasel style that is good to win fights, especially over 5 rounds. The judges love him too. It's favorable. Shavkat, he does have his flaws, so I can see him being someone that Gary can exploit. But going deep into tape, I'm just like, nah, this Shavkat guy, he's just a different level. Like, because Ian Gary is so slim margins with fighters like Darian Weeks, Weeks has him against the cage for like 10 minutes of that fight. He's still winning 30-27 because he's doing all the damage. But when Shavkat has you against the cage, he's ripping the body with brutal knees. He's got a brutal stepping knee in the middle of the octagon. He throws elbows. His wrestling's not the best, but he does a lot of damage in the clinch. And he did that to Jeff Neal as well. So I don't think Gary can just rest up against the clinch. If they're on the feet, sure, Gary will probably be faster, more technical, but we've seen it before. We've seen him get bloodied up in his debut. We've seen him dropped badly by Son Kanon, which is aging terribly. Just beating Neil Magny. Jeff Neal is his best win. Michael Page. He was going to lose the Michael Page fight. For some reason, someone tell me this. Someone tell me if this is not a rig. With a minute to go, Michael Page decided to stand up out of his guard and let him up. And I had a live bet on Michael Page, 1-1 going into the third. And when Ian Gary dropped for a heel hook and Venom Page was on top, and with a minute to go, I'm like, I want this bet. Thank God. And then all of a sudden, Michael Venom Page stands up. And I'm like, why would you stand up? There's a minute to go. You're going to get taken down now, and you're going to lose. And that's exactly what happened. Gary went, took the takedown, took his back, and just won. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it. I can talk about this fight for ages. I would rather play the over. If you fancy Gary, I would rather play the over because you're just basically fading Shavkat finish. But ultimately, I'm not even going to do that because my gut is just screaming that Shavkat's going to finish him. Maybe he won't. Maybe it will be like late into the fight. But yeah, I think he can crack him. He can finish him. He's got power everywhere. He's dangerous everywhere. I think his jiu-jitsu is insane. If you watch his regionals, Shavkat can even grapple off his back. He has a good armbar. He has a good triangle. Obviously, he has that guillotine. He has a good rear naked choke. I didn't realize how well-rounded this guy was, on top of being a brute as well. So, yeah. Nick Alexander describes it great. Horse eater versus frail vegan. Correct. Aura versus no aura. Let's move on. Alrighty, Alexander Pantoja versus Kaya Sakura. This one, I can't get a good read. I still want to go a little bit in depth. I said on my early teas, check out the early teas if you want to see my early reads, pre-tape leans. I felt like Kai could be the first guy to knock him out. He's knocked out some extremely durable guys. He did knock out Carp, but he dropped them really badly. He knocked out Carp, dropped Carp, pardon me. Fucked it up twice. Yeah, he dropped Carp and he knocked out Koji Hiraguchi. And yeah, the guy, he knocked out Yana Chuleta. The guy can crack, and I think he can KO anyone. He knocked out Hiramasa Okigupu. So, yeah, I think he can do it. He could possibly do it to Pantoja. I mean, it's not like Pantoja doesn't get cracked in every single fight with that right hand, and that's his best weapon. I will also add that extremely durable guys, usually the first time they get knocked out is to the body, and Kai has a brutal knee to the body. He knocked out his last two guys with it, Yuki Motoya and Juan Achileta. So the way Pantoja bends over and like goes in for really telegraphed takedowns, especially when he's gassed, I can see, Kai even tiring him out even more with that knee. But, other than that, Pantoja's a beast. He's incredibly durable. He hits hard himself. Kai has been knocked out a bunch. If this was a rematch, put all your money on Alexander Pantoja because Kai is horrible in rematches. He's beat Carp, he's beat Hiramasa, he's beat Koji, and they've all beat him in rematches, right? So that's interesting. Just an interesting little stat. Cap knocked him out. Goichi knocked him out. So maybe it's a thing where people kind of underestimate Asakura. They think he's a brawler with not much else, and he surprises them with their speed and power. And then in the rematch, he's kind of easy to game plan for. Which there's another little thing to think about because Pantoja was training with Koji Hiraguchi the two times they fought. So Matt Brown could potentially have a good game plan from Pantoja here because he's already game planned for Asakura twice. So something to keep in mind. But yeah, I still lean Kai KO or nothing. I wouldn't really be playing Pantoja. I know some people are. I feel like this is a levels fight, but Pantoja is that guy that can lose to anyone. Like look at his fights with Steve Erceg. Steve Erceg was one mistake in round 5 away from being the champion, and we've seen how Kai France handled him. I don't think Steve Erceg was ready for a title shot at all. It's because of that greenness that he didn't win. And yeah, Brandon Roywell was doing well until he got rear naked choked. So I think Pantoja is one of those fighters that a lot of people can beat, but he grits it out. He's tough. So I wouldn't really ever lay his juice, unless he's fighting like a massive bum or someone extremely chinny. But yeah, I guess the unders, under 2.5, under 3.5. Hope for the best. Hope that Pantoja can crack him. Hope that he can knock him out. But there's some footage out there of Kaya Sakura recently training. And man, his takedown defense looks great. Looks a lot better. He did look pretty average against Hiramasa Ogikubu, but that was 2 years and 10 months ago, almost 3 years ago. So he's beat 2 grapplers since, so who knows. But yeah, unders, Kai KO, that's where I'm at. Again, no strong leans. Let's go over this card and we'll go to Oktagon, right? I wish I could give you bets, but tune in, right? I give them out for free. Tune into my Discord, BetMMA, Sherdog, or Twitter, and I'll try and give them out for free. So Kennedy, I'm liking the under. I'm liking maybe Kennedy KO. I'll have to decide. Chase Super, it feels like the inside the distance is too obvious. We'll see. Griffin, I'm leaning over Chiesa, but it's just, a close fight. Van, I'm leaning over Durden, but probably a live bet. Eryk Anders KO, I'm leaning. Bryan Battle, Brown, inside the distance, I'm leaning. I think Bryan Battle, if he's as good as people think he is, he should run through Brown, who's incredibly fragile. Evloev, Sterling, I can't decide. I think Evloev decision or Sterling, either one could get my money. Gorimbo, Luque, I might have to lock in Luque. I think that's the only money line that's sticking out at me and saying this is the play on the card that you have to do. Landwehr, Duho, Choi, extremely, extremely volatile. I think Choi can knock him out in any round. And if he doesn't, I think Nate might volume him up later on in the fight. But now that I'm going over that, I'd rather play Choi, honestly. Bryce, Mitchell, Kron or pass. Gane, I don't know, maybe Gane decision. Round 3 decision, I should say. Rakhmanov, I think he finishes Gary. And Sakura, KO, maybe. That's about it. All right. Here we go. Oktagon 64. And I actually have bets. Here, so pull up. Let's see what the comments I have. Someone was saying this fight is on the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. Yeah, that was Pepe. But who knows? One thing about Hiramasa fight, that rematch was the second fight for both that night, and Kai was supposedly broken his hand. That's great input, mate. I heard that before, but I completely forgot about it. That's great. And Kai's right hand is his best weapon. He did look a bit off in that fight. Great input. Pantoja's shots aren't necessarily the best. Pantoja's shots are completely awful, actually. But he's just a scrappy dog. So thank you, Muhammad. Dogfather, talk about the great Christian Lee. All right. Little intermission. A bunch of us played Christian Lee in 1FC. He's fought Rasulov. He's fighting Rasulov. We faded Rasulov with Oktagon in 1FC, and I thought, honestly, Oktagon won that. Rewatching it again today. Obviously, the fight is scored as a whole, and it was Yoon won. I mean, it looked like he was winning 1 and 2, and then Rasul did great in 3 and 4 with his clinching, and then Yoon cut him open and busted him up in round 5 and ended great, and somehow it was a unanimous decision to Rasul. So it's all very subjective. But on Bet365, Christian, who is the current reigning champ, he lost to Yoon in a split decision, which also was a robbery. He dropped him in rounds 3 and 5, and he was competitive in other rounds. He's coming back from a 2-year layoff. He's 26. He's a defending champion. He rematched Yoon and knocked him out. And now he's fighting Rasulov, who had a close fight with Yoon, and he's live to KO him. He's a good grappler himself. He's a 26-year-old kid, and he's a $4.20 underdog on Bet365. So you got to play it. You got to play it. I didn't go big. I couldn't go big on Bet365. I could only do $150, which scared me. Hopefully my account is not gone or limited. But yeah, to win a unit, to win $500, yeah, I locked that in. Hopefully Dogfather is happy now. But let's move on. Nick Alexander, but I think Pepe said he's getting Kai KO. Yeah, Pepe is sharp, but he also has a lot of what is it? A lot of out there picks, a lot of out there picks, fading the public and whatnot. But on this one, I agree with Pepe, and a lot of people are feeling like Kai KO. So I think we all might be mushed. Riding high, don't fade my boy Themba. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to. Fine. Fedor Juric looks like a good prospect, but the price sucks. Christian Lee looking mushed. I don't know about that. Don't get me started on limits. Burning my life. Yeah, limits are the worst, man. All right. Jan Stanovsky versus Fedor Juric. As someone mentioned, Juric is 6-0. Looks like a beast. He's half Serbian, half German. Hence the last name. Obviously, the first name is nothing to do with Serbia. I have to feel like his parents were MMA fans and gave him that name. He's $1.44 on Bet365. The line is gone. He's very young. He's like 19, 20. This Jan Stanovsky made his debut in Oktagon recently. He's basically a guard guy. Easier to take down, easier to just control, rack up minutes, but he does have a good guard game. He submitted some good guys on the regionals. He kind of comes back into it. He's older. He's 25, 26. He's beat that last guy in Oktagon, a Gleb. I was going to fade him there, but obviously it proved to be a levels fight. But yeah, he submitted this Stefan Nikolic guy, 4-0 Serbian dude with a triangle choke. He beat another 5-1 guy. I get it. His only loss is to this Hugo Du guy, who's a French dude in KSW. He obviously wrestled him without getting subbed. I think Fedor can do that. He's grappled others. But yeah, something's stopping me. He's very young, 20 years old. If I'm playing these locks, I've seen him beat this Silvis Jansson guy, and he got caught in a couple of deep subs. He put himself in deep subs, and he was just sitting there. And I have PTSD from that shit. It's like, don't put yourself in those subs. Jan Stanovsky probably has better subs than that guy. But he's beaten some good guys in NFC, and some German dudes in the Discord say he's highly respected over there. I get it. I can see he's got some aura about him, but he probably should be Jan. But $1.44. If he does beat him, he's probably going to be laying on top of him in guard for a long, long time. So yeah, I've passed, and I'm going to listen to my guard and pass. But I'm not sure if I'm overthinking it or if I'm just. It's one of those obvious ones, and I'm going to regret it when he looks massive value. But at the moment, I'm not playing him. Marek Bartel, Andrit by short. Yeah, these guys are both, whatever, like low-level regional guys. I played Andrit in his last fight against, what's his name? Tayo Odunjo. And that guy's a bum, and he went to split decision with him, right? I thought Odunjo was just like a grappler that's awful, and he got hurt in rounds 2, but other than that, he was kind of grappling old mate Andrit. They both actually fought him. Marek Bartel also fought Odunjo, and Odunjo just rinsed them 30-27. So they both have bad takedown defense. Endrit is kind of like a knockout guy. And both guys can go for takedowns. Marek can go for takedowns. So if he grapples Endrit minus 200, I'm not feeling it. It's just like a low level Oktagon fight. There's a lot of upsets in these veteran, mid level guys in Oktagon. So I'm not really feeling like minus 200 on a guy like that. So let's move on. Gokhan Aksu versus Jan Malach. I'm leading Gokhan. He's a slight favorite on Bet365. He's got some good power. He he was meant to make his debut against Jan Malach, and I taped him the first time, but the fight fell through. Essentially, Jan is a good striker, awful ground game. Gokhan's a bit the same. He gets submitted, he gets taken down in all these losses. He great power though, and Malach hasn't really been knocked out much since ages ago. He did get hurt to the body by Shamrock and then rear naked choked. So ultimately, I just feel like this kid is a bit better. This Gokhan Aksu is not a kid; he's 33, but I think he's a bit better, a bit more dangerous, maybe a little bit less worse on the ground than Malach. Malach just seems like one of these Oktagon bums. I mean, look at his record: 17-14. He hasn't really beat anyone good. Hosimpor, Luka, Milo Dragovic is some Croatian guy that has massively padded record. This Neri Galezi guy is the best guy he's beat. He's from the Oktagon Ultimate Fighter equivalent. He beat him in the decision. He was taking him down there, which is kind of like what he could do to Gokhan, because both these guys have bad takedown defense. So I don't know. It's Gokhan or pass, but no strong conviction. Daniel Sport versus Jorik Montagnac. Wait, this fight is not happening. It's so topology is so behind. So Montagnac was actually meant to fight someone else, which also fell through. So this fight's not happening at all. But let's move on. Jamie Cordero versus Ion Tabusanu. This Tabusanu kid is very young. He's very good, and he's scrappy. He's a striker. He can grapple. And this Cordero guy is just like a meathead striker that's knocked out a bunch of dudes. Ion is like minus 200. He was knocked out by another ape, Vlasto Chepo, who's a Serbian, Slovakian dude. And yeah, I mean, that alone makes me not really want to play him. He got submitted in round 1 back in 2021 when he was younger again. He got knocked out via leg kicks against Levi Richter's in Glory. So I don't know, man. He's kind of unproven to me, even though he passes the eye test. So yeah, minus 200 against Jamie Cordero, who he's so live to kill people, really, really early. So it's a pass. It just seems like an extremely, extremely volatile fight. So let's move on. Usually that's the case with these Oktagon fights. They have so many like washed, chinny, volatile fighters on the record, on the card. So Michael Deg Sheik versus Jakub Donald. 6 rounds. Let's go Cordero via autism. Correct. Correct. Let's look at the comments. I've neglected the comments. Maybe there's more funny ones. Mohammed, I would love some tips on how you reopen Bet365 accounts. I have never bothered to try and reopen an account somewhere. I've been limited to dust or banned. Well, Dogfather says you have to get a friend's account. I can't contribute to any of that illegal activity live on air. So, yeah. Change your legal name. That's a good one. Dogfather, I will change my legal name to Big Steve's biggest fan. Yeah, that's a good, smart move. Alrighty. So Michael Michel Daiga Sheik versus Jakub Donald. Interesting fight. Sheik just fought a month ago, I think it was. And in October, and he got knocked out in round 1. But then it's Ilbai. I know some people were contemplating him as a dog shot because he's got a lot of power. He's a good kickboxer. He runs through a lot of dudes. He's got brutal body kicks and not bad jiu-jitsu either. He's got a lot of submissions too. So he might have some value because this Jakub Donhal is not an impressive fighter. He's lost to Hendon, lost to Butchinger, lost to Ahmed Villa, lost to George Hardwick, all very high-level guys. But, the guys that he has beat, David Moon via split, Furtado, Colin Mullen, it's kind of minus EV. He's not much finishing upside. He's a bit of a decision dude. He got knocked out by Karol Lushavi, so I might have to watch that fight. But ultimately, I would not be parlay piecing Jakub Donald. He's like a boxer that mixes in wrestling and yeah, I mean, yeah, man. Like, I don't know. Like, the reason I didn't play Sheik versus Ilbai is because of his age, being 38 and being so shop worn. And that proved to be right. And after getting knocked out, he's coming back again. So, as Dogfather says, Sheik is such a hard click. Correct. Unless they give him like a bum that he can run through, yeah, then you have to do that. All right. These fights, I know I said I have bets, and I do, even though I'm passing on everything. Just tune in. Stay tuned, boys. It's coming. Patrick Vespasiano versus Sebastian Herzberg. This is just such a volatile heavyweight fight. Both these guys making a debut in Oktagon. Patrick actually fought Lazar Tadoyev, who we'll speak about 2 years ago in Brave, in the main event. Had a competitive fight until he got knocked out really late in round 3. And yeah, I thought he looked good. Good striker. Then knocked out a bunch of dudes early. This Simon guy, and he absolutely destroyed this guy with one punch. I'm like, wow, this guy's a really high-level kickboxer. Then I'm seeing him fight this Zakaria and Nima guy in his last fight, and he hurt him too. And then he just got knocked out himself. He just gassed, and he seems extremely flaky, extremely like he can't fight past 5 minutes. And this other guy, Sebastian Herzberg, you watch him, and he's getting dropped in every single round. He's getting dropped, and then you're like, oh, wow, Patrick's going to kill him. And then he comes back. He's got a lot more heart, and he's a grinder, and he takes people down, he mounts him, and he finishes them. And also extremely low level of opposition in Germany, right? 12-12, 3-3, 4-0 was kind of good, and that guy dropped him badly too, and then he got an arm triangle choke. So, like messy heavyweight fight with two unproven dudes that seem like they can both be knocked out and whatever. So let's move on. Patrick is a slight favorite on Bet365, but it's pick him on Bet Online, which tells me that people are seeing some value in the dog, due to volatility. Max Holzer versus Black Delhi. I mean, Holzer should be in the UFC. They just keep giving him European bums. He should beat him. If you feel like laying massive juice, I guess he's a parlay piece. Let's move on. Alexander Popek, they gave him another fighter. Is this guy that knocked out Montagnac? He's a really, really fragile fighter. He also had his leg broken by Xavier in the last fight. So let me have a look. Bet365 is the only one that's going to update the odds. I doubt we're going to see it on... Oh, there we go. Yeah, he's $1.20 favorite. He should win. They're giving him a short notice bum. But this bum knocked out Montagnac, who was meant to be on the card. And yeah, he was like 13-13 and he knocked him out. So always be careful. Be careful. Popek has dropped the ball many times, but he should win here. Alrighty. Let's move on. Mohammed, I'm clueless on Oktagon. You guys can teach me something. Oktagon is one of the better promotions, man, as Dogfather says, along with KSW. Always a line that's really off. And yeah, this is, I said earlier in the podcast, betting MMA is getting harder and harder, but regional shows is the one edge that we have. You have to grind and find those edges. The only issue is if you don't have another book other than Bet Online, you might miss out on those odds, right? Because by the time you get it on Bet Online, by the time the limits open, everything is ruined. Most of my good bets are on Bet365, which is why I value those accounts so much. All right, let's move on. It's gone for quite a bit this show. Kaik Brito, Aeon Suru. So finally have a play. Kaik Brito, we just seen him fight recently on Contender Series. He lost to Oban Elliott, which aging quite well, right? Oban Elliott looking much better than I thought he would. I played Kaik Brito by KO in that fight. Very tilting. Almost knocked him out in round 2. And then just kept swinging and hitting at air. He doesn't have the best IQ, Kaik. He's very stupid. But so is Aeon Suru. And he was a slight favorite, Brito. And now it's pick him on Bet Online. So I locked in. What did I do? I think like $300 to win half a unit, $250. Not even a unit, because as I was locking it in, I parlayed it with the cancelled fights, so I wouldn't move the line, and I could lay more than $100 USD. As I was locking it in, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do it, because I passed on Brito $1.66, a slight favorite. And yeah, I mean, it still feels like I should have passed the pick him, because it kind of feels pick him, right? Sudo's a really good fighter, really good striker. He's knocked out, David Cosma, which, whatever, a lot of people have done. He dropped Paterno. He knocked out Alex Lahore. He beat Mate Cortez, 30-27. He also dropped Boyan. They both got dropped. He's a good fighter, but he's a bit fragile. He's a bit chinny. Same can be said for Brito. Brito can knock out anyone. I do think his chin is a bit better than Suru. And I think if someone is live to run through the other guy in one round, I think it's Brito. We've seen him, knock out Andrei Kolashnik in one round, one punch essentially. We've seen him jab Brzeski. Is that his name? Brzeski? I think I'm getting that wrong. Robert Bricek, who's now in the UFC. Not the best fighter, but he's a good boxer. He just jabbed them and knocked them out. So he's live to beat a lot of these dudes in round one. And, if he extends, his cardio is shithouse. We see that against Oban Elliott. This is a 5-rounder. But, I still think he's capable enough of knocking out Ion Suru. The longer the fight extends, the more Ion Suru is live to make a mistake too. So at Pick'em, I think there's got to be some value. You got to remember, Kike Brito is only 27. He was an Oktagon champion at like 25 years of age. And he's beat some high-level dudes. His losses are Ivan Pereira, who's a beast, 2017. Mateusz Rebecki, back in 2019. Pavel Goriev, who's in ACA now. He was 16-2 at the time, some Russian beast. Peter Knije, some old dude who's, is a dog. And Oban Elliott. All right, so, yeah, I think Kike should knock him out. If he doesn't knock him out, then I'll be sweating, but whatever. I think there's going to be some value at Pick'em. And here we go. The main event. That's why we're here. I have a full unit on Lazar Tadoyev. He's rematching Hatel Moail. Is that how you say it? Yeah. He's rematching him. And they fought for the title how long ago? A year ago exactly. And I played Tadoyev there as a decent sized underdog. I regret it. I didn't want to at first because I thought he's a slim margins kind of guy. And, he ended up losing. He stuffed every single takedown, but being slim margins, Moail literally won by doing more, right? In all of Moail's losses, he's quit or been broken, right? In that fight, he said he showed insane heart and cardio to keep coming for 5 rounds. He got his leg chewed up. He got busted up in round 5. I thought that was a clear round for Tadoyev. I thought round 4 was close, but then Tadoyev hurt him with a leg kick, which was the biggest thing that happened. So 4 and 5 were clear Tadoyev. And I thought round 3 was clear Moaev because he actually threw. Basically, it was in Germany as well. 2 judges gave it 4 rounds to 1 to Moail, which made 0 sense. Complete robbery. It's back in Germany again. So shows you how much they care about him. There's always a risk of robbery, but there's a few reasons why I locked this in. So since that fight, Tadoyev's fought twice. He knocked out a bum, and he knocked out Adam Palash, who he fought before, and he lost round 1 to him. He barely won round 2 by hurting him with a spinning elbow, and he barely won round 3, right? Probably because Palash slew down a bit. I played him slight dog money in the rematch because he's younger, he's improving, and Palash was always live to get knocked out in gas, and that happened in the rematch. He knocked him out in round 2, right? This is, again, Tadoyev was a $2.20 underdog, plus 120, because the same thing. I feel like they watched the first fight, they saw it was close. Moail won 4 rounds to 1, but they don't take into consideration Moail is 37 years old. He hasn't fought since that fight, took a whole year off. Lazar went back, fought twice, got 2 KOs. One of them was a guy that he went to a close decision with, and he handled them much better the second time around. Lazar knows that he needs to throw more in Germany to actually get the win. Whenever he threw, he actually hurt Moail, but he was too cautious and thinking about the takedown. And the big thing is, now there's open scoring in Oktagon. So if round 1 goes by, round 2 goes by, and Lazar sees that, oh shit, I'm 2 rounds down in Germany again, they're trying to rob me again, he can actually push the pace this time instead of thinking that he's up. So yeah, at $2.20, it seems like the first fight played out at Pick'em, worst case. You can maybe give Lazar minus money. Last time I gave him 6% against Palush in the rematch. He knocked him out. You can give him 60% here. Younger guy, more momentum. Moail, I will say Moail for 37 years of age, he looks better than he did previously. He must be on some solid supplements. And it could be one of those ones where Moail takes him down this time. He couldn't take him down in any of the 5 rounds last time, but maybe this time he takes him down and he rinses Tadoyev on the ground. Could be a completely different fight, but if he doesn't, Tadoyev should do a bit better, right? It's still a scary fight. It's still in Germany. Tadoyev still shows that he's a little bit low output, but $2.20 Don't see why he's the underdog. He's not even 30 years of age, I think. I think he's like 28, 29. Maybe he's 30, but yeah, makes sense. Makes sense to me. As soon as I played it on Bet365, it went to $2. I don't know if I want to tip out. I haven't tipped it out. I don't know if I want to tip out $2 because if he plays out pick'em, I'm essentially getting no value whatsoever. And I hate giving out bets that look bad in hindsight. So yeah, that's it. I've locked into Dove plus 120, 1 unit, $500. And I was really close on Duric. Don't know. I'm don't mind Aksu actually. I'll see. But they both have the same weaknesses. And everything else is just such a volatile fight. I got Kike Breeder at almost pick him, not even a unit because he feels volatile, and that's it. Have some Christian Lee on 1FC. LFA, I'm going to do more digging. But yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Very long one. What's Muhammad say? I don't know, man. I had my best year in 8 years. It has been exponential, though. My technique is to get in the lines I see will be crushed early, bet big, then ARB fight week. That's what I do too, my friend. I do that and then I reduce. But, I don't always see lines like that. It's usually easier with the UFC where I don't have to do the tape. I've been doing that for months now with McGee, Lucindo, a bunch of others. But I haven't even reduced those. So, yeah, this is the one. This is the one. So let's hope for some UFC bets. I'm going to do more tape and go from there. Good job, Mohammed. This is my worst year, but it could be something with the fact that barely any underdogs are winning. I don't know if you're a minus money player, if you're a parlayer, but the dogs and the live and the totals have been ripping me apart. But I made an adjustment, had a good November, started off December with a bang. So let's see. All right, peace out, like and subscribe. Thanks for listening.